everyone, we're the Rebel Crow Psychic Show with your host, Athena Silver.
Hi, I'm Anja River.
Tonight we are talking about elemental magic, bringing the magic of the elements into our day-to-day practice, what this practice entails, how deep it goes, how it's connected to all different spiritual lineages, from European lineages to South American lineages to ancient Egyptian lineages. This concept has been around forever, and we're going to get deeper into it. Aren't you excited, Anja?
Yeah, I'm so excited. So stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to get right into it. We're talking about elemental magic. We're talking about the fire, earth, air, water, and spirit, and how the pentacle connects all these three elements together, and also how we use it in a magical, spiritual, and ritual sense.
Right. So I really wanted to talk about elements tonight because, yes, it is a very basic topic, but it is, in my mind, it makes up a lot of what I'm doing. And I know that it spreads across many magical traditions, and you're using the elements all the time. So, going back to the basics and understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it is really important,
This is definitely the building blocks of most practices.
Right. And, Athena and I were talking off camera, and we were talking about how, we use these in such different ways. So, it's present, but it's very different along different paths. And, I just think it's very interesting. Like, we need to discuss this. We need to get into this. All right.
What is your favorite element?
I don't have a favorite. And I think that's because, like, what you started bringing up, like, I'm going to go right into this, the pentagram. So the pentagram is from about 3000 BC in Sumeria, and it is the star, the star figure, and it represents the four elements and above, which is ether, and that's spirit. So when you're talking about, like, when you're working with the elements, like, what do we have on our altar, right? We have our earth element, which is our, I have a potted plant, a live plant. You don't put fake plants on your altar, right?
No. I typically have some sort of flower like roses or daisies. I like roses, especially for ancestor veneration. The reason we use these flowers and these live plants is to contextualize and show us and remind us when we're practicing how finite the world is and this life is, and that everything is fleeting. When you see that flower bloom, you're only seeing it and expecting it to be gone. Same thing with life.
Yeah, right. That's beautiful. Absolutely. So, so you have your earth element, you have your air element, which is your incense. That's the smoke, fragrances, all those kinds of things. That represents the air. Then you have your water, you offer your ancestors water. And, when you think about, and you have your fire, which is your candle. And now I'm just going off into tarot because I know, you have your four suits, which correspond to the exact same things. I'm trying to start a new conversation in the middle of the other one, but it just goes to show you, like, when you have, you're looking at your tarot, you have your water, which is your emotions and your relationships, and you have air, which is your knowledge and, all things that are,
creative,
like above. Yeah. You have your wands, and that's your fire, and you have your pentacles, which is earth. So my point is, when you think about it in the template of the pentacle, and you think about when you're creating spells or prayers or offerings to your ancestors, you're pulling in all of these elements so that you can connect with the fifth point, which is the ether or the spirit. Whether that be on your altar, you're physically connecting to your ancestors by pulling together these elements, plus, it's penetrating into yourself, because we are made from the 5 elements as well.
I
We're
also choose to see spirit, ether in a different way. Instead of looking at it as a collective of all in being and becoming one, there are actual ways that you can work with it individually. I would argue working with rising Kundalini energy, tapping into yourself through astral journeying, through deep meditation, trance meditation, plant medicine journeying, when you're saying doing ayahuasca or any kind of like psilocybin experiences or anything like that, you're tapping into your soul essence. It's a way to specifically work on that level. It's like being half here, half in spirit.
Right. And you can work with the elements individually too. Like when you think, what is a baño doing? Like that you're working with water and maybe, some earth, so that's maybe not, singular on its own, but you're immersing yourself in the water. A lot of people say when they are in water, that's when they can channel, so you're dealing with one specific element kind of, or mainly. But
I hear you with that, because I've had times where I've been in the shower and I've journeyed whether I like to or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's really difficult. Like doing it when you're in the shower. So that's definitely something that is like your specific gift, because I feel like a lot of people have to immerse themselves, in a lake, in a pool, in a baño or something like that. But to have the water just come.
It's a very practiced, measured way that I do it. It's a way that my spirit specifically taught me how to connect with certain ones, and it's intense. I've literally felt like I've been in the cosmic space before, being pulled through, through having the water repeatedly poured down on me, and like trance music going, like repetitive motion music.
I'm glad you brought that up, because on a very, very personal note, I have been told to do something. So I think they might have wanted to initiate that in me as well. And I was just like, no.
It's very intense. It's like
the being that came, I was just like, it was very early in my journey. And I was just like, whoa. I don't know what you're trying to tell me.
It's funny you bring that up, because now that I'm thinking about it, I wasn't at home when this happened. I actually was down visiting my sister in Florida. And the night before the being that came to me to teach me this, I was channeling it on the beach, and making offerings to it. Every time I go somewhere new, I make offerings to the spirit, basically asking for permission to be there. And, making offerings that, pouring libation out, giving a food offering, saying a prayer, asking respectfully to have passage and to be welcomed and not to offend. And the night after that, actually it was during the day after that experience, I was taking a shower and I literally lost track of like 45 minutes. I was not
And I can imagine you're a guest in someone else's house.
Oh yeah, my sister had no hot water after that.
But it comes when it comes, and you can't you can't help it. Like, this is very off topic, but I was like sitting down. I had a similar experience. Like after this, the conjunction, I had this like beautiful, intense like coming in. This channeling that has been coming and coming and coming. And I'm just sitting in a room full of people, and it's coming, and I have to, I don't have a choice. I have to close my eyes, and like my third eye was open, and I was like doing the REM thing with my eyes, and I couldn't open. I was like aware of everything going on around me, but like my eyes are like, bugging out. I cannot open them for the life of me.
Oh, I've had those experiences too. Like you said, it comes when it comes, and you just got to go with it. Working with earth, I want to talk about that, because for me, that is specifically one of my favorite elements to work with, singularly.
Yeah.
I like to work with it in the way of going to sacred locations and sacred spaces, whether the spirits have told me that this is a sacred place or it's historically a sacred place to a group of people. Like when we think of going to see, you know, the six grandfathers, which is now Mount Rushmore, you know, going to see like Chichen Itza or other, you know, the pyramids of Giza, going to see these places, you're invoking earth just by being there. You know, you're taking in the grounded energies of that place. Now, you can even work with that remotely, pulling the energy of that sacred place into the place that you are standing now, because we're all standing on energy grids. You know, if you know how to tap into the spirit element, you are able to pull any element from any place, regardless of where you are, A, in the cosmos, and B, on this planet. So
do you want to talk about like how do you want to talk about like a process of how you do that? Because I'm really glad that you brought that up. You can also do it in your backyard if you need to ground in your backyard. And that's a fantastic way to work singularly with earth energy, you know, is like when you need that grounding. So this is another thing that spirit has taught me specifically. I'm not going to give every step. I'm just kind of going to give a little bit of an overview. Okay.
Because it is a very personal practice. I'll go into trance meditation. I have a metronome. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. If you're a musician, you do. It's that device that goes click, 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 and you can adjust how fast or slow it goes and how loud it is. And I'll put one of those on at a fairly fast speed, kind of medium fast. And I'll go in, and sometimes I'll drum with it because I also have a drum. And I will close my eyes, will go deep into trance. I will envision myself looking from above where I'm at. And then I will say it out loud, and also in my spiritual self will say where I want to go or the energies I'm pulling. So I will say, like, I am pulling the sacred energy of Chichen Itza. And I'll envision that place. I'll envision it in different times in its construction, different times in history, seeing different people. And as I'm doing that, I'm pulling the energies closer to me. So it may start out little, and then it gets closer and closer and closer and closer. And I'm there because I'm pulling that energy. You know, I'm taking the spirit aspect of myself, pulling myself out and going and spending time. You can also do it when you're awake as well, which is in your mind's eye, in your third eye, imagining this place, seeing it the same way you would see it in the deeper trance. Even just saying the name of the place can be enough sometimes to pull the energy of that place. But it has to be a place where you're very familiar. You don't necessarily have to have gone there physically. I mean, if you can, awesome. It's tying you even deeper to that space. If you are working with it strictly on a spiritual realm, it's going there and looking for the spirit guides of yours that are there, the reason why they're calling you there, what it has to do with you, because all of these places are related to you in one way or another. It's just finding out how they're related to you and what that purpose is.
Right.
You know, so then I'll pull the energy of the space for whatever reason I'm using that space, because sometimes it's for healing, sometimes it's for enlightenment, sometimes it's for understanding. You know, so whatever my intention is and whichever location I'm working with, I'll ask the energies to join my body, my aura, for as long as it's needed. Right. And then when it's done, it goes right back to the location.
That's great. That's a fantastic way to use earth energy. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Really well after.
Yeah.
Especially, I would say my favorite, I have two favorites. My absolute number one favorite is Machu Picchu. Every time I pull energy from there, it is like an alien experience.
Yeah.
Like there is definitely some UFO stuff that happened there in one place or another.
Yeah.
You know, they've got some interesting stories going on down there. And then my other favorite place is Tibet. the spiritual energy that comes out. Every time I journey there, I hear like chanting, like men in this low roar chanting in a language that I'm not familiar with. And I'll hear bells, like brass bells ring every now and again. And they'll ring in a different pattern. And just, I feel so peaceful, and it's so awake, like psychically awake.
Yeah.
You know, so if I'm doing any kind of remote viewing, I go to Tibet spiritually first, and then I ground myself, and then I try to see what the object or the target I'm looking for.
Right. That's amazing. So beautiful.
So yeah, we all have our process, right? How do you work with Earth?
Well, I don't know. I wanted to talk about like, because I've been doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which involves the 4 elements. And so that's really tying all the elements in together. And there's more layers than just the actual, the actual element. There's in the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, and in other practices, probably lots of Wiccan practices have this included, but the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is more hermetic. So what you're doing is you're pulling in the element, and you're also invoking the archangel that works with that element or is a representative of that element, so, and I have a real close connection with the archangels, I think, because Christianity was my first religion.
Yeah.
And
well, that's your framework.
I've let go of a lot of the feelings that I've had about it. And now, there's some things that are left over that you're like, oh, I can put this in with this. And, like, it's great.
Throw it in the bag and shake.
I can, like it's totally allowed in this, realm outside of doctrine and
yeah.
What's the word? I'm thinking hegemony, but that's not the word. So anyway. Yeah. Outside the world, outside of the dogma, like you can use what you want, isn't that what witchcraft is about? You're taking what you need from the elements, you're taking what you need to craft your own, what does it spell anyway? It's really a prayer,
Yeah.
So
it's making reality.
Yeah. I mean, that's great, like that's actually exactly what manifestation is, so anyway, so I was going to talk about the archangels a little bit.
Definitely.
Raphael.
I'm very curious about that, because that's a little bit out of my realm.
I'm learning more specifics as I'm doing the LBRP, so I'm trying to add more knowledge to it every day, so forgive me, I'm a little new-ish. All right. But we start off with the air. So I'm looking east. So in my space, that's that way. And Raphael is the healer of God, and he is the keeper of the knowledge. And this is the air element. He heals the earth and the people, and he holds a caduceus. So it's like that medical thing, he's really good to work with for knowledge, communication, brain power, anything having to do with the mind and bureaucracy and things like that. So Raphael that's the east, and that's air. So, and then the next one, so fire is action and will, and that's Mikael, and that's south, and he is the first angel. He's the divine warrior. This is fire, so there's a lot of heat and a lot of, like this is power. He who is like God. So since he was the first angel, I guess he's like the most close, he's the closest to in God's image or whatever. And he works with a sword, a lance, and scales of justice. And he's known for appearing to Moses at the burning bush and rescuing Daniel from the lion's den, which is fire. The lion is fire. So that's interesting overlay, like when you're looking into old religious texts.
Yeah.
And then you're using it in this hermetic way, which is totally not Christian at all. So,
see, I would argue against that statement. I think it is Christian because it's buried in there.
It's very blasphemous, though. So, according
well,
to
in
like
certain
if you went back,
if you were talking about the Gnostics would be all over that,
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like it's just, there should be no shame in anybody doing what they're doing, because when you think about it, it's all interwoven into each other anyway.
Yeah.
So there's really no separation.
My famous words, it's the same thing, we just call it different things.
It's a different package, and that's why when I'm telling you these archangels that are associated with the elements, so are Greek gods. Are sylphs and mermaids, and they're all associated with different elements as well. Yeah. So anyway, going back to this. So archangel of water is Gabriel. He has a chalice, which is the cups. That's the water, that's the emotions and the relationships. He also delivers messages to humanity, which is interesting because I always think of that like in a planetary perspective. Like Mercury is Gemini, and that's communication, so it's a little different from the astrology perspective. And he's also the guide to the unconscious. So, and then here's another thing. So Archangel Gabriel is of water, and there's a lot of domestic stuff, which makes me think of Cancer. When you think of Cancer, water, it's a water sign, and it's very, all about like the home and the self and comfort. So that's interesting to me. And then you have Archangel Uriel, which is the north, and that is the earth. And Archangel Uriel has a copper lamp and a sword. Kind of reminds me of the Hermit, the Hermit card.
Yeah.
And he is the light of God, and he deals with astrology, electricity, magical power, earth power, and alchemy. So definitely that might be my favorite archangel.
Dude sounds like a Capricorn.
Well, he's an earth sign. He's an earth.
See, I know my people.
The electricity in the astrology, I was thinking Aquarius. I was like, yeah, that's Aquarius, dude. Maybe he's on the cusp. Do you think maybe he's perhaps on the cusp? He's like more January, but
right. He floats somewhere. He's on the cusp. Some days he's working on the earth. Other days he's trying to give knowledge somewhere else.
Yeah, he's got to be like January 18th. Like that's his birthday. Right before Aquarius hits.
He'll write you a list and then forget to bring it.
Hey, that was a dig against me.
Only with love.
Well, we're going to talk about Aquarius because this is going to be the year of Aquarius, so get ready.
Oh,
no. Yep.
Well, I'm excited. I want to learn more about your people,
You should. You got a lot of Aquariuses in your life, so.
I do.
Anyway. So that's really all I wanted to say about the elements. And what I really just want to emphasize is like, going back and looking at this, because you can really get deep into this. There's so many different layers. It sounds like such a simple topic, but there's so much there. And
I noticed that there's different framework regardless, throughout the different people that you speak to about this topic. Like the Wiccans may use it this way, the shamans in South America may use it that way, the Siberian shamans may use it another way. Like we all develop similarly, but with our little idiosyncrasies that bring such a diverse flavor to our global community, especially now with the age of the internet, where we're all learning about everybody and about each other and trying to, navigate all of that. It's really interesting to see how the elements cross over in so many different traditions and really binds us together. Just really into learning about our surroundings, even from a pagan perspective. A lot of these are pagan concepts, You know,
Yeah.
yes, you'll find them in Christianity, but you'll find them in ancient religion as well. You know,
Well,
all
why
of
will you
these things
find
were
them in
sacred.
Christianity? You
I'm
find them
sorry?
in Why will you find them in Christianity? Because it predates Christianity, and Christianity pulled a lot of elements
Oh yeah.
into it from the past, you know? So
And then also
absolutely.
through the different places on earth even experienced Christianity differently. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the Christianity that and the way it's expressed in Mexico and in the Caribbean is a lot different than it's expressed, you know, in France and Spain and England. You know, it's just we are all looking at these are building blocks of life that they translate and they cross all borders. And when we look at these different ways that we use them in ritual and in ceremony, it gives us a deeper connection to our pagan past, to the most basic human parts of ourselves,
Right.
which is all of these different elements in unison, which is the pentacle.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's
Exactly. Like I'm wondering now, that's one of my next steps, study topics, is looking at the pentacle, because there's so much, like, you think for such a simple symbol, there's so much actually there. And
yeah.
it's like, it's overwhelming, you know, like that there's books written about, like, you know,
Well,
overwhelming.
I would argue that when you are doing that, you might want to also look into the very ancient expression of like the cross and also the swastika. Now, when I say swastika, I'm not talking about the co-opted version that Nazis use. I'm
Yeah, no.
talking about the ancient expression because it was actually co-opted. You know, it meant something completely different. It actually had to do with the elements.
Right.
And these ancient agricultural communities were coming together using these elements in their ceremonies and encoding these things into symbols. You know, just like the cross is an encoded version for Christianity, and also the four directions.
Right.
So it really depends on who you're talking to, what you're talking about. You know, these things cross so many different borders, you know.
And there's so much power in the elements and bringing the elements together as a, you know, and then when you use these symbols to represent this, you're just piercing the layer between, you know, yourself and the different dimensions, you know. That's it's a sigil, you know, when you're using the pentagram as part of your magical rituals. That's a sigil, and that represents the you know, the sheer, just the tremendous, you know, that is the way that we get spell work done, you know. That is, you know, that is how.
It's
anyway,
life.
I say I'm very excited about
life. You know, when we look at the pentacle, it represents all of this in unison. So when you can work individually, or you can pull them and layer them together, work with 2 at a time, 3 at a time, all of them, none of them, you know. You can work with it in so many different ways, but at the core of it, you're working with universal energies. And when you do that, you always want to come respectfully. You always want to call in your spirits of protection, love, and light to protect you and guide you, you know, to deeper understanding, because you may work with fire and you may not be ready. You know, it may bring up fear or anxiety in you. You know, you may have a fear of fire or a phobia coming from a past life or something like that, you know, which is another reason why you should try to heal it and go slow. You know, you may need to depend on the earth before you can pick up fire, or you may have to depend on, you know, water before you can depend on air. You know, you've got to go slowly and experience them for what they are, because when you know them in the singular, when you put them together and layer them, it gives such a deeper understanding. Right. Now, for instance, I want to talk about like smudging. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard of smudging, you know, burning Palo Santo, burning sacred herbs for cleansing purposes and protection purposes. But what you're doing there is you're working with fire and you're working with air at the same time. So those two things are going together and bringing you what you're looking for, the intention that you're setting or whatever you're using this application for. you know.
Right.
They can be used in such a way to get certain things done. Now with smudging, you're obviously going to use that with prayer as well. So you're using the element of spirit there too. So, you know, it's just something to think about when you go and you start doing spell work, especially when you're creating your own spells and your own ceremonies. You know, right here is the building blocks of how to manifest just about anything, you know, is really understanding these elements and how to use them and why they're there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
We're so glad you guys, you know, came back and hung in with us while we talked about the elements tonight. For anybody who is interested, I'm Athena Silver. I'm a professional psychic medium and tarot reader and a witch and all those things, blah, blah, blah. If anybody would like to schedule a tarot reading with me, my number is 347-871-0164. My website is readingswithathenasilver.com. My Instagram is athena.silver. My Facebook is Readings with Athena Silver. And my TikTok is Athena_silver. How do they get a hold of you, Anja?
Yeah, so I am a channel and a tarot reader and soon to be hypnotherapist. Yay! Past life regression hypnotherapy coming soon.
Yay!
And I'm at Facebook and Instagram at Anja River, ANJARIVER.
I think that once you're ready, we should have an Instagram party for you.
Oh, that'd be so sweet.
You know, why don't we hook that up? We'll give you guys a date and we'll organize it. Check us out on Instagram at Rebel Crow Psychic Show, and we'll be posting up a date for Anja's congratulations party.
Thank you.
Hit us up. But we release an episode every Thursday, so check in with us, and we wish you guys love, abundance, and peace in this new year. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.